Hello and welcome to People in Power. I'm Barbara Serra. On today's program, Dream Stealers.
If you're truly a good footballer and you play football and you're talented, if an agent sees you, you are supposed to be an asset. He's supposed to put his money on you, not you investing on the agent.
It's known as the beautiful game, and arguably it's the world's best-loved sport. It's certainly the most watched. But football isn't just a sport. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry that attracts hopeful players from all over the world. In Africa, millions of young boys dream of escaping poverty by becoming professional football players. But of course, where there are dreams, there are also people willing to exploit the dreamers. All over Africa, scammers posing as football agents are duping the families of young men out of their savings for the promise of professional football careers in Europe and elsewhere. The reality, though, is very different, as many of these young men end up dumped in foreign countries without money or visas. Orlando von Eisendel's report begins in Lagos, Nigeria.
In the slums of West African cities such as Abidjan, Lagos and Accra, there are tens of millions of young boys with little hope of escaping the poverty that surrounds them. For many of these young Africans, one thing represents what they believe is their only chance of escape: football. Bombarded with images of famous African football stars, these boys dream of a world far away from their own.
My name is Anima Shanwalali Konsadik, and I want to be a very good footballer, a great star. Once I get hold of the ball, I can do so many things. That's why people say I play like Cristiano Ronaldo. I play like him, and people say that I look more like him. With this round leather, I know I can go to places. I know with this, I can go to places.
Sadiq lives in the Lagos slum of Ajugale, a district home to 3 million people. He lives with his parents and 5 brothers and sisters, and like tens of thousands of young boys living here, he hopes to one day become a football star.
It's my aim to become a very big star in terms of football. I love football, I love it. It's all my life, body and soul. I can't lose hope because this is my life and my everything. This is my house.
Sadiq lives as one of 8 people in a tiny 2-room apartment.
Life in this neighborhood is very, very hard. You just have to do what you can do it. That's just it. Life here is hard, very, very hard. I just want to leave this place. I can't wait. I can't wait.
Unfortunately, young footballers like Sadiq often pay a high price for their ambition. Increasingly, scammers posing as agents, promising big contracts and placements with European clubs, dupe these young men into handing over their families' life savings. Often, the boys are transported thousands of miles, only to be dumped. Kasim lives in the slum of Nima in Ghana. He was just 16 when he was duped by a sham football agent. After giving the agent all the money his family had, he was flown to Turkey and abandoned at the airport. He survived for several months by begging on the streets.
Because they told me I was going to play football, and when I went there, no one even came for me. I was just walking around the streets, sleeping on the streets. So I started to hustle just to raise money to come back home. I hustled for 2 months. I cried so much. I was lonely, wishing I'm home. But I came home with nothing.
Like many other boys in his situation, Kasim's chances of a professional football career are all but ruined.
I'm still affected with it because as of now, I don't have anything in hand doing. I'm home, just sleeping, not training because of the trip. I just quit the training. I know I've missed a big opportunity, but unfortunately for me, here I am now. Every day I cry about it. I weep so much because when I think of it, I've lost everything.
Sham agents are rife in West Africa, and they often find victims like Kasim at unofficial football academies like this one. This is the Strong Tower Football Academy, just minutes from Kasim's home. The academy is run by Joshua Awua, who coaches over 50 young boys.
Football is a game that I like. That's why I made my mind to organize the boys and train them to become someone in future. I hope one day one of my boys will go and play in Europe. That's my dream.
Joshua charges the boys a fee to attend his academy, and if a payment is missed, there is a penalty.
I discipline him for not paying his money because it's a day payment. You have to pay. He's a kid. If you don't teach him the right thing, he will forget. So you must stand on top of him and shout at him. Don't tell him, go down.
Joshua shares his house in the slums with over 20 of the boys from his academy.
This is my house and I live with these boys. This is my room. They are all staying with me. See, they are from nowhere.
All over Ghana, coaches like Joshua are desperate for money. And for the right price, these academies are more than willing to put the lives of these young players in the hands of any agent who will take them.
When agents come for a player, I'll give the player out. I'm ready to give anybody out for any agent who would come to Ghana.
We had heard football scams were also rife in neighbouring Ivory Coast, so we made contact with a coach there who agreed to speak with us. When the Ivorian government heard about our investigation, we were refused a visa, but the coach agreed to meet us secretly at the border with Ghana.
Parce qu'aujourd'hui, c'est tellement connu que si je fais ça, mes amis m'ont dit que je les ai trahis. Effectivement, si on montre mon visage, on me tue. Donc, c'est pas la peine qu'on montre mon visage. Vous voyez, chacun a sa stratégie, chacun a sa manière de travailler. Il prend l'argent, il va jeter l'enfant dans un autre pays, et puis il est libéré maintenant, il vient à Abidjan. Partout en Afrique, c'est-à-dire un peu partout. Il faut avoir de l'argent dedans seulement.
With very little protection for children coming from West Africa's football bodies, one man has taken it upon himself to bring to justice the individuals duping the young footballers of Africa. Matthew Adafi is an ex-footballer from Nigeria who was once flown to the Cape Verde Islands and abandoned as part of a football scam. His mother spent her life savings to pay the sham agent's fees.
My situation was a dead-end situation. I was like in the grave. When I look at my mother and I think about the pains that she's gone through as a result of all of this, I really do wish this could go away. But you know, like they say, you can't wish trouble away. Sometimes you have to fight it.
Now an investigative journalist back in Nigeria, Matthew uses his weekly radio show to warn young footballers about the dangers of sham agents.
We'll talk about a lot of crimes in this country. We'll talk about corruption. But there is one area now that nobody's looking at all. It's the area of people parading themselves as sports agents. Yeah. Nigeria have about 1,000 agents scattered all over the country, and they just come out with some fictitious forms and some fake documents. They collect money from these innocent players. Now they carry you and dump you somewhere in Cape Verde with all your money, and they just disappear. If you're truly a good footballer, and you play football and you're talented, if an agent sees you, you are supposed to be an asset. It's supposed to put his money on you, not you investing on the agent. I made it a point of duty that if I hear about any dubious agent, any dodgy academy, anybody who defraud people of money, I will go there and bust them as much as I can.
Working with Matthew, we wanted to see if we could out one of Lagos's many sham agents. After a few days of searching, a contact of Matthew's, Isent Kitan, gave us the number of a man calling himself Coach Innocent. Matthew's cover story would be that he was looking to assist his fictitious younger brother in getting a trial with a European club.
Hello, sir. Hello, good morning, sir. Good morning. My name is Matthew. I got your number from Coach Isent. Okay, yes. And he told me that you are genuine, that you have this invitation for players to go to Europe. Yes. Okay. They travel to Arsenal. The Arsenal requested for girls. Arsenal Football Club of England? Yes. Wow, that would be very good. That would be very good for me. How? Thank God. And how much am I supposed to budget for this project?
That is 320.
320,000 naira?
Just 320,000 naira.
That is all?
That is all.
Okay, thank you very much, Coach. I'll call you every day. I'll get back to you. I'm very grateful. This type of opportunities, they don't come every day.
No problem.
God bless you, sir.
Okay, bye-bye.
I'll get back to you. Thank you.
The coach claimed to have connections with Arsenal Football Club in London and said he could arrange a trial for the equivalent of $2,100 US. We later contacted Arsenal. They had never heard of Coach Innocent. Matthew secured a meeting with him for the coming Sunday at Lagos's National Football Stadium.
We are at the National Stadium, Surulere, Lagos. I'm wearing a hidden camera on my shirt, as you can see here. I want to go there, pretend to be the brother of a guy, and say I've got the money to give to this coach. And at the end of the day, we'll check with his papers and all that, and bust him and hand him over to the police.
As he does with many of his stings, Matthew had earlier contacted the police and arranged for them to wait for us outside of the stadium. Matthew had brought in a young colleague to pose as his 16-year-old brother.
Hi.
Bye.
Good afternoon. Let's go for there.
Okay.
How are you?
Thank God.
You have to run this over again for me, you know. It's Coach Isen that told me everything. Sit down there. Coach Innocent, my younger brother.
Okay. Because the other day when I came,
Okay.
I came with some invitation. This one now, they're in Celtic. The other one
Celtic. Celtic in England?
No.
In Scotland?
This one is in Cape Verde too.
Okay, Cape Verde.
Yes, it's a very big club there.
Near Senegal.
Yes, very good. This one now is 2,000 euros per match. They have not yet signed you.
Really?
I'm telling you, they have not yet signed you, but every match you play is 2,000 euros.
Coach Innocent had changed his story. He was now claiming he could place Matthew's younger brother in a club called Celtic, based in the Cape Verde Islands, a notorious location for child footballers to be dumped, and the very place Matthew was abandoned years before. Matthew has heard enough.
Is that Matthew?
He signals for us to approach.
Okay, let's go. You know, everybody presents this type of thing, but my problem is there are too many fraud in this thing, so sometimes we're scared. I tell you that this is a fraud. This is a fraud. You are lying. Your name does not correspond to what you give to me. You've just been busted. If you think that what you do is to defraud little kids and steal them of their money, I'm telling you, you're going to go to jail and rot in hell. I would use every powers within me and within this country to lock you for the rest of your life. I would hand you over to the police right now. I'm going to call you.
No, please, I'm begging you. Let me call.
Let's go. Get into that car now.
You're still calling him. You're not. If you tell me the truth, the police is just a call. If you're honest with me, I'll let you go. But you're not being honest. You're still trying to lie to me. I know this game. I know this game. I travel to Europe and everywhere. And you're still lying that you have a director
While checking Coach Innocent's documents, the police find that he's also been masquerading as an official representative of the Nigerian Football Association.
This is a fraud now.
Convinced they are dealing with a scammer, they take him away. Coach Innocent spent 2.5 months in jail before being released without charge. Throughout Africa, men like Coach Innocent continue to operate, duping young footballers and their families. Here in Morocco, thousands of West African children are living in poverty after falling victim to football scams. One of these is Sidibe Kouassi, a 16-year-old Ivorian who fell victim to a scam run by a sham football agent from Cameroon. Sidibe led us to the squalid apartment that he shares with 11 other Ivorian boys, all of whom say they were victims of the same scammer. As they live in Morocco illegally, the boys were frightened of having their faces shown.
Et on nous dit non, on ira jouer des tournois en Serbie, où nous serons vus par la presse internationale, où il y aura des recruteurs un peu de partout.
Each of the boys paid the scammer between $3,000 and $4,000 US, but when they got to Casablanca, they were abandoned.
Moi, je ne veux pas avoir peur. Puisque je suis un garçon, je dois me battre. Je dois me battre pour avoir moi-même mon pain. Donc, je ne peux pas dire que j'ai peur, quoi. Me battre pour avoir mon pain. Et pour avoir ce que mon cœur désire, quoi.
While Africa is usually the source of these scams, this is not just an African problem. Young men are being led as far away as Europe and abandoned in the streets with no money, no visa, and no way home. Foot Solidaire is a Paris-based NGO and is one of the few organisations attempting to do something about the problem. It has become the only hope for many of those abandoned.
We have all these children brought from Africa to Europe. They have no passport, they have no permit, their health is not good, and they are very destroyed psychologically. They look like old men. This is a very big issue in the international football now. The problem is going increasing. Why? Because of the success of the main African players in Europe. You know the name, Didier Drogba, Samuel Eto'o, Adebayor, Michael Essien. Everybody dream in Africa. And they have to pay. They sell everything. They sell their farm, they sell their business because of the false promise of these agents.
We joined Jean-Claude in Paris as he visited some of the desperate young men Foot Solidaire assists. None of them wanted their faces shown.
Every time we meet young people, it's not easy for us. We don't have money, so it's difficult. But we have to be there because we are a kind of support for him. We are the second family. If we don't go and see him, I don't know what he do. He's abandoned completely. The children who are trafficked in Europe don't want to go home. It's simply because their family have paid a lot of money. So it's difficult for the children, even they want to go back, to return. Because the family say, why do you come back? It's better in Europe than here in Africa. You cannot come back. For the children, it's very heavy responsibility.
The football industry is worth over $18 billion in Europe alone. And it's not only opportunistic scam artists who want a share of the money. European clubs are increasingly looking to Africa to find talented players that don't cost them European rates. And this is fueling a new, brutal trade in young footballers. Jean-Marie de Decker is a Belgian senator who conducted a long-running investigation into the problem of clubs and agents trawling Africa for cheap talent.
They explore. It's like 100 years ago you had the explorations, colonialism, you had the explorations of the mines in Africa. And now there's a new sort of exploration. And the exploration goes to human beings, go to sportsmen, go to football players. And they want to find their diamond. Everybody is looking for the Drogba, the big black diamond. They are a product and they are treated like a product. And if they are not useful anymore for those traffic agents, they get abandoned in Europe.
One such footballer is Victor. When he was 16, he was trafficked from Ivory Coast and taken to more than a dozen clubs across 4 countries. Eventually, when the agent failed to sell him, he was abandoned on the streets of Paris.
Mon histoire, c'est quand même pénible. Je retourne plus à Dubaï, Libye, Maroc. Et puis on arrive en France. Le 11 janvier 2009, on est arrivé, il m'a mis une semaine à l'hôtel. Il m'a dit, donc 3 jours après, il est passé me voir pour que je puisse aller faire mes tests dans différents clubs ici à Paris. Il n'est plus revenu me voir.
Victor's story is far from unique and highlights an important gap in the way the sport is policed at its margins. In its charter, football's governing body, FIFA, clearly prohibits the international transfer of players under 18. However, the regulations apply only to licensed clubs, agents and members associations, and do nothing to stop those operating outside the system. We heard about a well-known agent in Ghana, who seems to have no trouble getting around the rules. His name is Callas Carlton Sanaya, and he acts as a middleman in deals involving young footballers. Acting on this information and posing as English agents working for a fictitious talent scouting company, we meet him to see if he will sell a child player to our organisation.
Hello. Good to meet you.
Yes, fine.
How you doing? What I'm after is young players that we can take over and either put them directly into teams, into larger teams, or put them into small teams.
Like what age?
We don't tend to go for anyone over the age of about 17.
That's exactly what we're doing.
Good.
I have some magnificent players in there, which I wish and hope you have a look at them.
The following day, we met Mr. Callas again.
Mr. Callas, what's up? How you doing? You okay?
Great, yes.
Very good.
He had set up a football match for us with under 17-year-old players so we could observe their talents. We brought along a camera to record some of the action. Our next step was to get Mr. Callas to discuss how he would get around FIFA's rules to sell these young boys.
Now, just one of the things that we occasionally have problems with is when there's a very good player, but he's young, and we want to place him in a really good club. Yeah. There's obviously the FIFA rules which stop that from happening.
We always have ways to go around that, you know that.
But how could Mr. Callas disguise the player's age, clearly printed in their passports?
What about the passport issues?
The passport is zero. I do passports with my eyes closed.
Very good.
You don't have a problem, my friend. I get a job done.
You get it done. I see.
How? Nobody cares, but the job is done.
While of course we did not follow the deal through to its conclusion, transactions just like this take place frequently throughout Africa. Agents like Callas are ensuring that this human trade continues.
Sports is big business. Sports is really big business, so everybody is interested. When there is money involved, the crooks are coming. The crooks are coming, that's normal.
Football is often called the beautiful game, the most popular sport on the planet. And this year it's to be celebrated by Africa's first World Cup. But football's reputation is being stained by the scammers now lining the touchlines to exploit the dreams of its young players. And, so far, too little is being done to stop them.
Rocking your system, and the kids playing the football game, the heroes of tomorrow, the son of today. Be careful of the agents, all the scams around, the con men around, and go for only those who are real agents. Do the right thing and the right way and play the game and score the goals.
It's my dream to play in a very big stadium like this, and I know definitely the God that has planted this talent in me will definitely bring me out one day to play in a very big stadium like this. If I see an agent today, I'll definitely go, because that's what I want. That's my dream. That's my career, my life and everything. I would go because that's exactly what I'm looking for. I would.
Well, that's it for this edition of People and Power. If you'd like to comment on today's film, we'd love to hear from you. Do get in touch on aljazeera.net/English. Until next time, goodbye.